Hi, welcome to another day of the Red Inkvent Calendar by Diamine. Today it is the 7th December and let me search for it. It's there. I cannot show it. I have to put it like this. So it's day 7. Let's see what we have here inside this. This is getting crazy because it means lots of pens inked to hold these 25 inks. So let me see, this one may be a golden ink or yellow. It's called Candlelight and it is a standard ink. So I cannot see through. Let me check here at the side. Oops, I touched. I'm not sure. Maybe kind of yellowish, orangey. I'm not sure, but that's what we are about to find out. So please stay there. And I have to say that I find these little bottles much more interesting than the bottles of the previous edition. So please stay there. So let's now see how this apparently very light color will look on paper for the swatch on this Rhodia square paper. So let's see how Candlelight will work. So again, we have the pipette, we'll have the Victorinox knife, and let me open this. Take 3 drops of ink and 1, 2, 3. Let's put the pipette aside, close this. We don't want stupid accidents. And now let's go spreading the butter over the toast. It looks like a nice yellow, and I don't have many yellow inks. I had one, I don't know if I still have it, which was a Private Reserve Buttercup Yellow. And when I'm looking at this ink, especially on these places that looks like a little bit more like caramel, it reminds me a lot of that Buttercup ink. But that's what we will see when it dries. So I'll be right back. And here I am with the Candlelight yellow ink, and let's see how it performs on paper. It really is darker than I thought, and it is kind of a dark yellow, almost an ochre color. I think it's quite nice, but still kind of hard to see on paper depending on the pen you're using, in my opinion. So let's see the comparison with some other inks. I don't have many inks on this color family, so I've got 3 other swatches here just to show you some that I think may compare in a way. One is the Private Reserve Buttercup, which was one that I talked to you about, and I really think they are close. Maybe the Private Reserve is lighter in the lighter areas and a little darker in the darker areas, which means it should have a little bit more shading, but they are really similar, so one can easily replace the other, in my opinion. Another ink that I wanted to bring here, but it's more for comparison purposes than to show a similar color to this one, is the Kaweco Sunrise Orange, and this is a kind of a muted orange, and it's really different from that. That's really yellow. So it's not to say it is similar, it's just to show how different it is. And let me put it here. And finally, I have the ink from last year, the ink number 8, which was Gold Star. And the last year, no, the calendar from 2019. And the Gold Star is a very, very, very similar color. I would say it is almost the same. Maybe the candlelight is a little bit more saturated, and this one has, the Gold Star has shimmer and the candlelight doesn't. So I would say they are very similar colors. This one has gold shimmer, this one has no shimmer at all. And this one may be a little more transparent, as you may see here, because you can better see the lines on the paper than on the new one from Candlelight. So this is an interesting color, but I would not say it is unique, because in just a moment I could find, and I don't have many inks in this range, I found two other inks that are very similar: the Private Reserve, Buttercup, and also the Diamine Gold Star, although with some shimmer. Now let's go for the chromatography that I made, and what can we see? We can see there is no water resistance. You cannot see the line that was drawn here, and the old ink went upside, and it has just a little touch of maybe magenta, but it's mostly yellow with a little green. So very simple color, I would say. Now let's see how it behaves with the written sample, but let me show you first the pens that I chose. I chose two pens for this ink review, as I've been using in this video, because in some other reviews that I made before, even before the Inkvent Calendar, I think, I showed inks with one pen. And sometimes I go almost always for fine nib pens, and you don't see a lot of comparison between different nibs. So this time I decided to use, for a while I've been using two pens for each review, and I try to find a thinner nib and a broader nib. This makes me struggle a little bit for empty pens with broader nibs, because I don't have many, and this is kind of a struggle to get pens for these, because to make this Inkvent Calendar review I need to have 50 pens inked just for this calendar, so lots of stuff. One is this Lamy pen. It is a yellow Lamy Safari with black trim. It is an older edition. This one has an extra fine nib, and that will show you some differences. And I also have another yellow pen, but with a very different shade. Here it is a little greener. It has a magnet on the inside, so it may attract the clip of the Lamy, but okay, let's forget about it. This has, let me just align these properly. No, not yet. Like this. So this pen looks a little greener. It has a cooler shade of yellow, and it is the Duchessa. This pen is called Duchessa, sorry for my Italian, 1935, which means 1935, and it is called Antiqua because it is a pen made with a modern pen made with older lever, old clip, and old nib. This nib, I cannot say exactly what it is. It is something between medium and fine, so you can have some difference between this pen and the other one, and this also has some line variation in this pen. So let me show you what I have here. For this ink I have in moleskin paper, we have the yellow. We don't have, let me grab the swatch here. Sorry. With the pen, and I made this swatch with the Duquesa, because Duquesa is a little broader, I cannot get this higher concentrated part that I see here. It's more like that or that. And we have it here, we have a yellow ink in this cream paper. It's not very contrasty. With Lamy Safari it's really, really thinner. What can we see? We can see some shading, yes, for sure, even with Lamy, but mostly with the Duquesa, as we would expect. I think the ink is quite well behaved in this paper. However, it does bleed through. With the next paper, the Oxford optic paper, we have a darker shade, and yes, here we can definitely see some beautiful shading. I'm not a very big fan of shading, but if you like shading, yes, you can have real shading with this ink if you get a medium nib. With the Lamy Safari, not so much, but with the Duquesa, yes, you can see from the lighter shades of yellow to the darker ones, and this is quite beautiful if you enjoy it. There is no bleed through. The ink behaves very well on the paper. I think it's nice. It's readable, more readable here than on the moleskin paper. And finally, I have the Navigator copy paper. This is 80 grams per square meter, Portuguese copy paper. And we have here the two pens, and we can see some shading with the Duquesa, but not as much as we can see on the Oxford paper. That is a coated paper. This is a regular copy paper. And with the Lamy, you can still see some shading, not a lot, but you can see there is a little bleed through in some spots, but not that much. So if you ask me, I would say the best performance is on the Oxford optic paper, and it makes sense because it is I would say from these three papers, it is the most fountain pen friendly of those. And here we have the Rhodia dot pad, and I have the ink also with this very beautiful shading. As I told you, I'm not a fan of shading, but it really looks nice. It's very autumn-like because you have different shades, like when the leaves ones are yellow, ones are yellow, the other ones are more orangey, so it takes all those kind of looks. About the drying time, it takes a lot of time, so 5 seconds, it's smeared all away, and over 1 minute and a half, it still smears there where the ink was in higher quantity on the paper. So I stopped at 1 minute 30, so it takes a very long time to dry. It's not very good in that sense. About the water resistance, you can see any ink here, and you can see any ink there where I put some drops of water. So it doesn't really work as a water resistance, in water resistance. Let me just make the final sentence with the Duquesa, and let me see if I'm in frame. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. This nib really allows for some line variation there. It railroad, but as it allows for some line variation, just as I'm writing, even before the ink is dried, you can already see line variation. And I think, again, this is a beautiful line variation, although I don't love line variations in, color variations or shading in general. The last sentence will be written with the Lamy extra fine, and it is the same fox, same dog. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. And again, you see some line variation, but very, very minor when you compare with the line of the broader nib on the Duquesa. So, this is my review of the Diamine Inkvent Calendar 2021 Candlelight. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you tomorrow. Bye!